I know that you've said you've got you're working on your total cost. Have you done an environmental impact on the impact of transmission lines, turbines on our wildlife, our native fauna and flora, in particular to koalas? How many koalas are going to be either have to be relocated, moved, in regard to our eagle hawks, etc.? Have we done an environmental impact on the impact of actually implementing renewables across our beautiful country?
So, Senator, I think I can just answer that in the generality. So, I think, as you know, because you're across these issues, those environmental impacts will happen, assessments will happen on a case-by-case basis.
Sure. Rather
than in that sort of aggregate sense that you're describing. So, the law compels us and the system to make decisions about environmental projects and the impacts on the environment as and when those projects are presented to government. As you know, sometimes it's the state government that is the environmental regulator. Where the Commonwealth EPBC Act is engaged, it becomes the Commonwealth. So I think the answer to that question is, at that kind of whole-of-system aggregate level, would be an immensely difficult task and not one that's required by law. What's required by law as a regulator is an assessment of environmental impact on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. As a senator for Queensland, but also representing an Australian Parliament, though, we need a big picture view here, because we need to know how many koalas, how many eagle hawks, how many hairy-nosed wombats are going to be impacted by this. So, we always talk about how, carbon dioxide is going to raise the ocean levels. So it seems to me that you can look at one side of the picture when it comes to fear-mongering, but when it actually comes to the other side about protecting our environment, you want to do it bit by bit. Well, I'll compare the superannuation 2% in 92 and now it's 12%, which is a big, massive chunk out of people's salaries. We need to know the total impact of all of our flora and fauna across this country that is going to be impacted by the enormous impact of tens of thousands of kilometres of transmission lines, the massive lithium mining, rare earth mining that has to take place, the offshore wind farms. I think we need a system review, or to be transparent to the Australian people as to whether or not they want another 100 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, or they want large chunks of their flora and fauna wiped out. Don't you think that's a reasonable assessment to make?
It's a reasonable.
I'm not sure that the choice we'd accept the dichotomy that you propose. We're in possession, of course, of significant scientific information about the impacts of a changing climate on flora and fauna, and so one of the many reasons that the government is committed to net zero by 2050 is in response to the impacts that we know that a changing climate will have on all those plants and animals.
Just last question, just last little point.
On
so
all,
if you've got the
I actually had not finished
of climate
my
change,
answer.
you should have the impacts
I had
of
not
renewables.
finished my answer.
Okay. Senator Rennick, we're trying to have a very respectful session where we're not talking over each other. So we'll just let the Minister
Macalister
to continue.
Thanks,
and then
and I won't take up too much time because I think that's what's troubling you. But I just wanted to make the point that I don't think the dichotomy is as you suggest. I'd also make the point that we would accept on these kinds of impacts of these proposals and any other proposal with a significant impact on the Australian landscape, that of course it should be assessed properly through environmental laws, and later in the program today the part of the environment, part of the department will be able to talk about some of the ways that we propose to improve Australia's environmental laws. I'd also make the point that on the specific issue of how impacts of either renewables projects or transmission projects are assessed, most of the states and territories, certainly in the national electricity market, are now actively engaged in thinking how to bring about a consolidated way of thinking about some of these issues. But not all of this is within the Commonwealth's control. There are state and territory environment agencies and planning agencies that play a role in assessing the kinds of impacts that you're thinking about.
Put the risks and benefits of climate change versus the risks and benefits of renewables, so that the Australian people can get a proper, risk-reward analysis. That's all. Thanks, Chair, and thanks very much.
Thanks.
Authorised G. Rennick, LNP Chermside.